naturally. Welcome to everybody coming in. Joe, you can be the host here. You're really good at this.
Welcome everyone coming in. We've got 3 attendees coming in so far. We're going to give people a couple of minutes to join because there's 200 and something people that have bookmarked this particular session. So to give people enough time to come in, relax, get a glass of water, as I normally have by my side in webinars, then you have the time to do that. What we would love you to do, so that we can find out who's coming in, is if you could write in the chat where you're from. It's always exciting to have people from overseas, as well as from people from the UK. Let us know where you're from. Let us know if you're a secondary or a primary school teacher, or maybe tertiary. Everybody is very, very welcome here, and what languages you teach, or maybe what languages you speak as well. That would be amazing. So I don't know about anyone else, but I'm really enjoying the language show using Zoom events. I think it's absolutely smooth and fantastic. And it's wonderful that this is possible, that we can still all come together anywhere in the world and come along to the language show. And in this particular event, it's all about sharing classroom practice. We're going to be giving people the opportunity for speaking for about 7 minutes or so. Sharing your good practice is going to be fantastic. We've got a number of people who have agreed to present, but if there's anyone that's come along that has a nice little idea that you have found really works in your classroom, a top tip, as you can see is on the slide here, then we would love to hear from you. Just things that work, really, teaching ideas, and it doesn't have to be to do with technology either. It can be a non-techie idea. It's absolutely fine. And things that you found that really work with your students, that have been effective in relation to, let's say, listening or speaking or reading or writing, or bringing culture into your classroom, or pair work, or GCSE preparation, or Key Stage 2 ideas, whatever it might be. We'd love to hear from you. As I said, we have a number of people that have agreed beforehand, but we'd love to hear from people who just feel like sharing something in the session. We are recording the session so everyone's aware of that. And the role that I'm going to play is, once people have identified if they would like to speak, if you can make it known to us using the Q&A, if that's okay. So what we'll be asking you to do is, in the Q&A, just say, I would like to speak about, and then talk about the topic. And then what I can do is I can then find you in the participants list and make you a co-host. And then Helen will kindly sort out the running order so that we have a nice smooth transition. And it may be that someone has a technical issue, in which case we might ask you to, present maybe one person ahead of somebody else if someone is trying to share their screen or whatever it might be and it is having some difficulties. So if you are interested in speaking for, let's say, up to about 7 minutes, then feel free to put a comment in the Q&A so that we can see that. For the rest of the conversation, the rest of the questions, etc., that might come up, please just use the general chat. And we can have a look at what's coming in. I can see that there are some nice comments coming in so far, but because I'm sort of focusing on the screen, I'm not actually reading them at the moment. But I can see that some of you, actually scrolling through now quickly, I can see that some of you are saying exactly what I've asked you to do. That's very good. You're a very good class. That you're saying where you're teaching, where, if you're in the UK or further afield. We have someone from Germany, I think I just saw there, which is fabulous. Esmeralda's just joined us, hot from her last session, which I was in till about 30:30, and then I came in to help with the setup for the show and tell. So that's fantastic, and we are ready to rock and roll, I think. Helen, would you like to host this fantastic show and tell for, I don't know how many years we've been doing this, but I think this is the 3rd year in a row we've done it virtually, and what a great opportunity for us to share good practice.
Thank you, Joe. He's such a pro, isn't he? The way that just like these BBC, ITV commentators are just able to go on and on and on, but it makes us all feel part of a big family, which I think, and I'd like to add to what Joe said. Thank you so much to Jonathan Scott, who makes all of this possible, and Linguascope. And you've just come up with a really professional look, and yet we're able to be nice and friendly, and we've got this opportunity to be able to talk at the same time. I think having that open chat is so important. Joe has given a very good introduction. I'm going to be repeating a bit of it, so I will go quite quickly through it. We're hoping to start the show and tell probably in about 6 to 7 minutes, something like that, when I've gone through the intro. I know that Esmeralda, you've got to go quite soon, so possibly, if it's all right, if we start with Esmeralda and then we'll go with David. What's happened is that, as Joe has said, we're really hoping that as many of you as possible will want to join in on the show and tell, but we have actually got 6 people who've already said they'd like to do it, so we've lined them up. So we'll start in a moment with Esmeralda, unless you want a bit of a break after you've just had your last session, Esmeralda, because otherwise David's happy to start. You'll start. Okay, good. So here we are. Joe and Tell. As Joe has said, yes, we've been doing this online, and we did, I don't know, about 100 webinars during the lockdown as well. So it's lovely to be back in this environment. But here's pictures of what we used to do, and we hope that one day it'd be lovely to get back to a bit more face-to-face as well, something that we really enjoyed doing. But this has been lovely to have this opportunity. So I'm Helen, chair of the London Association for Language Learning branch, and on the management board as well. We've got Joe, who's introduced himself, David, and others who are helping here. Those of you who've been to other sessions where we've got AWL members, you know we're really, really keen that you join us. So if you're already a member, please could you write it in the chat and say, I'm a member, please join. And we've got a great offer that if you join us, it says today, but actually this lasts for a month. I think you can decide about this. You can get a 10% discount with LSL22. So at some point we'll put into the chat, so you know if somebody who is a member could put the link to join, that would be great. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about how wonderful it is. You can find out about that another time. I'd particularly like to push this. The London branch has got a face-to-face event coming up on January the 21st, and it's going to be really, really good. I think we've got good speakers. Our focus is going to be on, well, really, we're going to have Key Stage 2 primary, Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4, particularly looking at the new GCSE specs, which have just come out, the draft ones, and A-level. So there's something for everyone. And the BFI is just such a lovely, luxurious sort of place to be. So that's already open. You can already sign up for that. We've got lots of webinars that we've done in the past that you can still access, just as you'll be able to access this for a couple of months after the event, and indeed from an hour after this is finished, you'll be able to access it again if you want to see it straight away. Attendees, as Joe says, please feel free to use the webinar chat. We suggest that you use the chat, not the Q&A, because we found out that we can save the chat and save that and share that with you afterwards, so that you'll be able to see all of the ideas that everybody's contributed, whereas we can't save the Q&A. So if you could use, but in the chat, you could put a Q if there's a question. That means that we can pick up on that. Due to last for just over an hour, although Jonathan has said we can stay here as long as we like. So if you're really keen, we can. Those of you who are wanting to present, I've just got 5 quick slides to tell you what you've got to do. First of all, you could raise up your hand, or you could click on the Q&A icon and write in your name and what your top tip is. And that is then a signal to Joe to make you into a panelist, which means that then you will have powers to be able to share your screen and your video and your audio. My job is meant to be to oversee the order in which people are speaking and to manage the overall timing. And I'll always tell you in advance when you've got to prepare for. So I know now that Esmeralda is going to start, and then it's going to be David after that. You might have to speak at short notice if somebody's tech goes, so please be ready for that. And you'll be able to join in. So this is what it'll look like when you become a presenter. You then can unmute your audio and your video. You can click on the green to share your screen and sound, and then you select the screen that you want to share. And if you want to share sound as well, remember to click that box for the sound. Another little tip is that sometimes people may forget how to get rid of that irritating bit at the top, which sometimes floats over the very place where you want to click. remember there that you can go to those dots at the top where it says more and select hide floating meeting controls. And if you hide them, then that disappears. If you want them back again, just press escape and it'll come back again. Often people will ask the question, is there a recording? Is there a PowerPoint? For the recording, yes, it'll be available an hour after we've finished. For the PowerPoint, that's totally up to the presenters whether or not they want to share their own intellectual property. And if they are willing to share, if they could let me know and I'll put it onto our EWL website. And we've already got a page ready and set up to take those and to be able to share them. And we'll share that via this platform in the chat, but also via Twitter. Joe, do you want to say who you are?
I'd love to. So thank you for that lovely introduction there, Helen. I'm an independent languages consultant, helped to organize 130, I think it was, in the end, Tilt webinars, technology language teaching webinars with Helen for not only AWL members, but anybody that wants to come along. And all the recordings are still available on my YouTube channel, which is Joe Dale 100. In the chat, I've put a live link to the document that you have right in front of you, as you can see, which is a reference to 18 example sessions of trainings that I can offer either via webinar or face-to-face, now that I'm starting to do lots and lots of face-to-face events, which is brilliant. So if you are interested in anything to do with digital technologies and language learning, or I could do cross-curricular sessions as well, then have a look at those ideas and feel free to cherry pick the things that you particularly like. And if there's something that's not there that you'd like me to cover, just get in touch and I'm sure I can design a bespoke session for you. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, let's get on with the show.
Okay, so first up, I know that Esmeralda, I think you've got mother duties coming up. So if you'd like to start off, and then it's going to be David. Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And I'm going to share my screen. Apologies, because people who just been in my session, what I'm going to show you, I've already talked about. So I apologize. You're going to you're going to hear it again. But yes, I thought it was really good. So I really wanted to share it again. Okay. So basically, I don't have a power presentation or anything. It's going to be very, very, very quick. I just wanted to show you how wonderful ScreenPal is, basically. Okay, so what you can, ScreenPal, basically, it is an extension from a screencasting. And you need to, it's amazing, and I'll show you in a minute, the things you can do. In order for it to work, you need to download the little extension on top of your panel there, and it's this little one here. Okay, so this is a ScreenPal, and I'll show you in a minute what it does. But basically, what allows you is to record something on the go. And I first heard from Jerome, that he put it in Twitter. It's like, oh my God, have you seen this? And I thought, it's like, oh my God, this is absolutely fantastic. This is really good to put like in a wheel of names or something. So I'm going to show you how I use it, like in wheel of names. I'll give you a couple of examples, and then I'll show you how it works. Okay. So this is the idea. So this is a wheel of names that I may have with my students. And then it will come up to something now. And instead of a sentence, it comes to a URL. Automatically it gets generated with a ScreenPal. And if the student comes on top of now typical, it's not working now. I don't know why it's not. It should be, because it says videos on Hoover. So it should be yes, there you are. So the students get on top of that, this little thing comes.
Ojalá tuviera los ojos verdes y el pelo largo.
Okay, so you can see it's like a little sentence I recorded myself up. The idea with this is that I use this to reinforce vocabulary and sentences and structures that will be difficult for my students. This was particular for low ability students. And the idea here is I wish I had, ojalá tuviera. So it's just reinforcing the idea of the structures. The students that were working with this on their own in the language lab, the computer room, put the headphones on, they were doing the wheel, they hear to my sentence, and then in a Word document or in their books, they write the translations. What did I say? And because I'm recording myself, I can do it very quickly, or I can do it slower, I can do it in different, and etc. The ones that were really good, I would say, okay, translate it, and can you extend the sentence? Okay, so that's basically the idea. The students will remove that one, and they will go to another one. Okay, it's as simple as that. It's not revolutionary or anything, but I thought it was very, very cool. And as I said, thanks to Jerome, who introduced me to ScreenPal. And that is, again, so you go there, I don't know, there you are. Sorry, I've been impatient. I think the internet's been a bit slow.
Ojalá tuviera más hermanos y menos primos.
So here the idea is, ojalá tuviera long hair. I wish I had, okay, brothers and sisters in different contexts. So that's basically the idea. How do you create that? Well, this is very, very simple. You go to Wheel of Names. And actually, I just been creating one for my session. The idea is basically that once you got that little thing in your extension, automatically you get these little things there. Okay, automatically. That in most of the process anyway. This will be very good as well in your email. So you want to have an email, okay, it will come up in your email, and instead of typing a very long answer, for example, in a meeting or whatever, you can pop this up like that, okay, and then you record your message. Of course, at the moment the camera is blank because I'm using it. I only got one screen, and I'm using it obviously with Zoom, so it's not working. But normally you could have that. You also can record the screen and then you're talking on top, or you can have both as well. Okay, once you're happy with it, you start your recording and you finish it, and then automatically it will create this URL. As simple as that. Then you got another one and you create, and they will start creating automatically for you. And the same thing, it will create very nicely into your into your emails. And I thought this would be very good for giving feedback. So for example, creating another one, imagine this, you got this is a model essay that I found on the internet. And imagine that you got an essay from your students, and this is a Word document from a student that is online, and it is there, my little thing. So imagine I'm there, I'm writing reading the essay. I can mark it and whatever, with my pen. But then I want to give really detailed feedback to my students. I do exactly the same thing. I open this up. There you are. Okay, it will look slightly different in Word, that it looks before, but it's basically the same thing. Obviously, it's blank because I'm using the camera, but you press record. Okay, the same thing will happen. You will record and you talk to your student, then you can move your document and you can say, look, in here, you can highlight things. This sentence was not that good because here you could have used that. So you can imagine how interactive this can be. At the end, you stop it. Okay, as I said, it's blank because I'm using the camera, and then you give the student automatically a URL. And I think this is absolutely revolutionary to mark essays really, really, really quickly. And then you can have several in one essay or just one. So you can have, for example, you can mark a paragraph, do a little bit of feedback, read another paragraph, another one, or one little URL for all of them. And that's my idea. Okay, so it was as simple as that. Nothing, revolutionary, but I thought it was really good, and I love it.
That was fantastic, Esmeralda. We just got a quick couple of questions, if that's okay.
Actually, is it all right? Because I know that David has got to go quite.
No problem.
So perhaps if we ask David to present, then how many questions? I'm really sorry about this.
Literally, it'll take about 30 seconds. Okay, the first question from Suzanne is there a maximum length for the recordings for ScreenPal? Do you know?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Is there a maximum length for recordings?
Mm-hmm. Well, I always do it between 1 and 2 minutes anyway, so I haven't tried more than 2 minutes myself. So that's a very good question. When I done marking, I try to do it in small ones. That's why I showed you paragraph by paragraph rather than a whole one. I only do 1 or 2 minutes. So that's a good question, but I don't think so. I don't think it is because I haven't seen anything.
Okay, so so just trial and error, we would suggest. And then a question from Mary: could you post the discount code again when convenient, please? Oh, I think that was you, Helen.
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
We do that a bit later on.
Okay, I was going to say,
if we hand over to Dave. Yeah, don't worry. I think that was sorry. I was multitasking, and anyway, I was trying to put a few links in the chat as well. But without further ado, thank you so much for kicking us off with that, Esmeralda. Brilliant stuff. And now we'd like to hand over to David.
Lovely. Thanks, everyone. Just to reiterate what was mentioned earlier, thanks to Joe and Helen and Jonathan for the opportunity. And thank you, Esmeralda. I need to go off and check out ScreenPal. what I thought I'd talk about briefly today, if I cast my mind back, it's probably a number of years now, working particularly with Key Stage 4 students, pretty reluctant to write, and particularly at the lower end. I work across different schools and quite often inherit some slightly disillusioned students and maybe students who don't like putting pen to paper. So I went away and did a bit of thinking of how I could best support that. And so what I've come up with is there's kind of 5 stages, and for lack of a better name, calling it a translate and fold worksheet. So it's just a simple worksheet, but there are a few kind of added tweaks to it that I think make it quite powerful. So it's available for free, and I'll post the link afterwards. It's on TES, and you could take this and rework it to any language, obviously. But what you've got is an A4 piece of paper, and there are 5 different stages, 3 on the first side and 2 on the second. And the idea is that you kind of very gradually scaffold students toward a piece of production at the end. This I find works particularly well with 40-word GCSE questions, should you be teaching in that context. So what I've often come across with students who, when they set about trying to create a piece of writing, is just that blank page syndrome. And so the first initial activity is actually a parallel translation. So you're actually modeling this, but it's not just here's something to go and learn and regurgitate. And that's where the folding of the page comes into play. We went off also and made these for 40, for 90 and 150 words. And I'm going to just change my screen share to actually talk you through those 5 separate stages and what it looks like. If someone could confirm that you can now see my Word document.
Yes.
Yeah, lovely. So not rocket science, but there's a few little tweaks, as I say, so I'll just highlight those. So you've got a parallel translation. So rather than kicking off immediately with students, here's a translation. Obviously, if you're inputting L2, that's useful, but translating from English from English straight into target language can throw students off. But if you look carefully, j'aime la musique rock, mais je déteste la whatever, students can work out this puzzle as they go because of the parallel translation that's there, and that's up front and center. And students do quite like the puzzle of, oh, I can work out what that is from across there, and vice versa as well. So you're not immediately confronted with this barrier of, oh, I don't know the word and I'm going to resign myself to stopping. So that's stage 1. And you'll notice there's a little dotted line that says fold A. I don't have one with me, but the plan is that students get their A4 page like this, and they fold along those lines so that they're only ever looking at one of these different rows, if you can imagine that working. And that's really powerful for memory and retention, which I've found as well. So once they've kind of had that input with the parallel translation, then it's a simple translation from L2 into L1, deliberately chosen to go before the next stage because students will generally find that a bit easier. Again, they will have the security of, oh, I didn't know what it was. I can do what I call a sneaky peek so that they can look back, oh, that's what that meant. And it's this ongoing process of actually checking back against this model. And students who find it easier, they just don't need to check. So it's kind of this not over scaffolding and not students always regurgitating something, be that from a vocabulary list or a model answer or a sentence builder, for example. So that's the first 2 activities. Then fold B along the bottom is going from English into L2, and then they're encouraged now to turn over the complete page and begin the productive part, which you will recognize. This looks very like a foundation GCSE question, and indeed it is one taken from an exact past paper, but the focus is on them writing from memory. And if you look, this has been quite carefully chosen, la musique, le cinéma, la technologie. If they can recall from memory, this will help them access 16 out of 16 marks on that. And again, they've got that security net and they can work independently of the teacher, that they can flip the page over and look back. It's important, I've found as well, to this little point here, use the vocabulary you have learned. So don't suddenly think that this is a brand new question. Lots of students do that and don't recycle those structures, but similarly adapt it, because you don't want them you want them to personalize it. And then the kind of final little cherry on top is that lots of the structures, if you look up there, things like, I like X, but I hate Y because of Z. That structure is really, really applicable no matter what the topic, if you just swap out some of those noun phrases. So then the final one is called transfer your knowledge. So exactly the same thing. Here we're talking about sport at school, and students, I find this really, it's quite empowering for students, and they think, oh, so I can use this for that. It stops that kind of siloing of different topic areas, and students realize if they can say, I like X, but I don't like Y. They can use that irrespective of what comes up. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm going to hit send on the link that will be in the chat. And I found it really useful. We've got loads of these and it can get students being productive, and it's quite a nice sequence of activities one after the other. So I hope you find that useful. You're on mute, Helen.
Oh, such a newbie thing to do, isn't it? I was being all enthusiastic and saying that's just so helpful, and particularly the fact you share these ideas so freely as well. I think, you know, we've always said, certainly within ALL, it's so important, isn't it, to be sharing things when you've got ideas like that, and then you can adapt them. So thank you very much indeed. Really good. Okay. I think our next person is Adam, and I'm happy to say that all the people who volunteered so far, they're all people who have either presented already at ALL London or part of the committee who are going to, and Adam has said that he will present for us one day. So really looking forward to that, Adam. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear us.
Yeah, you can.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I've got AirPods in. This is like revolutionary to me. So what I'm about to present is something that I do a lot in my practice. And I think a lot of the time I was thinking about my students. We've been doing a lot of work on behavioural science from the Behavioural Science Insights team, looking at the EAST framework, so making things easy, attractive, timely, and sociable as well, in order to make really, really clear gains with our students. Also thinking as well about precision teaching and making sure that we all teach the same kind of mnemonics. So I've got a team of 15, 16 teachers. I want to know if I have to pass students onto a different teacher, they're going to be taught in exactly the same way with exactly the same knowledge going in my classroom. When I was thinking about mnemonics, I've think about avocados, tacos, name God knows how many amounts of food. There's a lot out there. And it got me thinking, what's going to be one kind of mnemonic that I can teach my students, one kind of acronym I could give to my students that's going to serve them well across the GCSE. And the one that I came up with myself was just LOT. It stands for Linking Words, Opinions, Timeframe, Structures, and it's derived essentially from a lot of the criteria for the AQA specification. So the idea being that students need to develop, they need to be able to rate. So in order to do that, they need to use linking words. Opinions across your 90 words, your 150 words, across your photo card, across your general conversation, you have to be able to express opinions. And obviously in the more higher elements, you have to be able to justify those opinions as well. Timeframes, obviously we're talking about timeframes all the time. You look at the general conversation section of the speaking exam, you look at the 90 words, they've got to be able to use the past, the present, and future time frame, and the 150 words if they're going to get the variety of language in there, they're going to have to be able to use different timeframes. And structures as well, thinking about pushing the top end, thinking about that variety as well, and especially the 150 words, the sophistication and the general conversation. So the way in which I use this, students know this inside out, that I teach, pop it on the board, I give them about 2-3 minutes, they can sit, they can just scribble lots, nice and big in their exercise books. They write me down loads of examples, we pair up, they share their examples, they're expected to get done what their partner gets done, what they don't, and then we share it as a class, and I'll take their best examples and write them down. I think what's nice about this is we do this in class, we do it before writing activities when we do it in class in 90 words, 150 words, but we also train them to do it at the beginning of a writing exam. And then they've got that scaffold there for them throughout, and they can go through and we teach them to put a line through. Once they've used maybe Además, they can use también instead. So it gets that variety up there. It's really, really simple, really easy to remember. It serves, I think, pretty much every single part of the QA specification apart from 40 words, because they don't really need to use opinions to get the top marks, the 16 marks. They don't need to use timeframes to get the top marks in the 40 words. And I think it just keeps it nice and simple, nice and straightforward. And they don't have to remember about 10 different food items to get the full marks. So that's why I like LOT, and it's really, really zhuzhed up the writing that my students produce, and it's dead easy, dead malleable. So that's my offering. Dead quick.
Really good. And I don't know whether you'd like to do this, Adam. I know you've made some fantastic videos as well with all of these ideas. I think we're often, aren't we, interested in ways of making our lessons interesting, but we are obviously focused on that exam that's going to come up. So we are training them in language, but also training them in exam skills. And the idea that they can be going to an exam feeling that they've got some sort of security, some framework, which you've done some wonderful videos for this, Adam. So, you know, if you want to share any of your links, that'd be lovely.
More than happy to. It was just a silly lockdown project that kind of spiraled. So yeah, I will share those.
People just love them. So the other thing, quite a few things I've got to say at the beginning is that perhaps, you know, particularly, I think nearly all of us are on Twitter. Anybody who's here, if you want to give your Twitter handle, and definitely I would recommend that you follow Adam, who is not Adam Lamb. You are Senor. You can say it better than I'm not. There we are. That's who he is. How do you say that?
I'm muted. There we go. Senor Cordero. So it translates. Yeah. So little trick. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Adam. So as I said, I'd forgotten earlier about this. Jonathan had said, oh, this new webinar platform, you've got these emoticons where things go up. And I think it looks lovely. So if you'd like to show your appreciation that way to people, that would be lovely. Okay. So we've got 3 more people who have volunteered to join in. So there definitely is room and space for other people to join in. I know that Joe has got something up his sleeve as well. I have got something, but in a way I'd rather just listen to other people. So if we could go now to Jérôme, who is here, right in the middle of my screen. I don't know about the rest of you, but looking very smart in his
amazing
paper.
stuff. So hopefully no problem with the Wi-Fi seems to be everybody in my class, because I'm in class and they're working very hard, very quiet. So they're all doing their preps and stuff, but they're amazing. So so we're not going to say anything. We're just going to go. Okay, let's go. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully this is going to work. There we go. You probably can see this. Okay. It just happened that yesterday, as I was on Twitter, as you do, and a few people, including Mark Anderson, who's a quite well-known name in terms of IT and all sorts, has put something out from Adobe Express, which is pretty amazing, pretty fun. So I'll just show you what it looks like at the moment. So you can see probably a fish at the moment, but yeah, I think it's something which you can help developing oral skills and stuff like that. So what you need to do, or you can do, is you have an array of characters that you can see there on the right hand side, and you can pick. You got some human-looking people and cartoony people and things like that. So whatever you want to do with it, I think for children and for younger students, it's quite fun to be doing that. Under 8, under yes, 7, you're 8, you're 9, maybe a bit higher up or something, but it'll also primarily be working quite well. So you have a character, you can pick, you can see I pick a fish there. Why not? You can pick a background, whatever you fancy. I've got this funky background in the back there, but how about a big printemps? You may have noticed also that the app is in French. I have no idea what's in French, by the way, but it's okay. It's on Adobe Express. I will put the link later on to people who want to have a play. It's really, really fun. Then after you've got the size here, and you can adapt it to whatever platform you want to publish on. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and blah, 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 and all the rest of it. And you can personalize it also at the bottom. So what you do, and what I was really amazed yesterday when I was playing with it, is the lip movement when you actually speak is very, very impressive. So I created a video earlier on, and I'm going to try to find it into my folder somewhere, and I can play it. Or maybe you're just going to pretend I'm going to record something here, and you will see what you can do with it. So, bonjour, je m'appelle Super Poisson. Comment ça va? Okay, exciting French. Also, you can do it in any language. It doesn't really matter. It could be an announcement, but I thought that this could be a good way to create a story, and I wanted to link this to Book Creator or to have something in Wakelet or something like that. I think it could be something quite fun. So hopefully this is not going to be buffering for half an hour, and the video is going to be appearing 2 days later. Whilst it's getting ready, what I can do is this video, once it's ready and you're happy with the end of it, you can pop it into Book Creator. If you don't know, Book Creator it's a free app for most teachers, and you can get some stuff some little books. I know Joe is a pro on that in those Book Creator Inside Out. It's really great. I really like using Book Creator to create stories and stuff. And what even like most, you can app smash with Book Creator because you can create little books and stuff, and you can use Canva. Oh, exciting. So if I go, I'm in Book Creator now at the moment, whilst my video is buffering, you can see I'm filling in the time at the same time. I'm going to be going to I'm going to Canva. I'm going to create very, very quickly a cover. Hopefully I'm not taking a month's time, but let's say I want to do monster. You can see I've been looking for this before. The Tale of the Monster Falls, obviously very much in English, and obviously I can change it. Say l'histoire du
You've got
monstre.
plenty of time, Jérôme. You don't have to rush.
That's all right. Cool. L'histoire de mon monstre, something like that. And I can change this if I wanted to look for some monsters in there. You need to go to element, and I've got a funny monster here. It doesn't really matter, just put that one in. Move it there, I change the name here, by Jérôme. No, not that. And text, T for text. Oh, that's got to be large. Anyway, I'll leave it that way, not to go a little bit faster. Then add to book. And you can see it's going to be putting in there. So that's amazing. You can create some stuff from Canva and pop it straight to as a cover or as something else into your Book Creator. And it's going to be coming up shortly, hopefully. Let's have a look at the video to see if it's gone up on the other side where it's cooking. Oh, it's still buffering. No, terrible. Okay, anyway, what I can do is I will be going into the video I filmed earlier on, and I'll do this. You can see all sorts of things there. You probably can see that, or can you? I'll probably have to change. Stop sharing and share again, because otherwise you won't see my screen. QuickTime, share, boom. Okay, you can see that, can you? You probably can. Let's have a play. Okay, you can see the design is really good. The lip movement is very, very fun. And you can do some stuff very exciting with that. I think it's really impressive, isn't it?
We couldn't actually hear the sound, but we got the idea. Do you want to just play it again with share computer sound?
Oh, I think he might have frozen.
Oh dear.
Well, what we could do, because he's very, yes, it could be that Jérôme hasn't got to rush up, I don't think. So we could ask him to come back after our next speaker, perhaps. And then it will have had time to cook.
On behalf of everyone for the Edinburgh Film Show and Tell, I'd like to thank Jérôme for his idea there, sharing that idea. I saw the same tweet from
Let's go back in.
Evangelist yesterday. I'm just praising you, Jérôme. It's okay. And likewise, equally thrilled about this new tool from Adobe Express. You do have to have an email account to log in to use the application, although there is an Adobe for Education installation possibility as well, which yeah, you'd have to, if you were interested in that, just do a search for Adobe for Education and find out how that would work. But you've got that one, that sort of animation possibility. You've got things like Adobe Art Video, etc.
You can.
Do you want to try and play the video again, Jérôme?
It's probably
it's
just...
all for the option. Okay.
Je suis Samy, le superbe
I share the
Comment
sound.
ça
I
va?
don't know if you heard it. Otherwise, I pop something online and people can have a look at it later on. So it's really, really good. I was really, really impressed. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back onto my other share this screen again and try to go away from this one and that one there. My Adobe Express is messing around. It's terrible. Can you see my screen now or not?
Yes,
Yes,
good. Okay, so you have my cover that I made with Canva, and what I can do afterwards is, again, I can pop my videos into it. So just a question of importing things, and you can just pop your videos into there, and you can have a story telling a story. So the children will be speaking, and you can add lots of little effects and things like that, which is quite exciting. What is really, really good also in this app is the fact that as a teacher, later on, you can also click on the plus and you can give some vocal feedback. You can speak and leave a a voice feedback to the children who've done some work. And I think also it not only is help with time, but also I think it's great and it's automatic, and the children can respond to you, maybe in the target language also. That'd be quite useful. And finally, you could be using this type of little video from Adobe again, which you can get for free. Just create a free account as a teacher in something like Wake, for example. Campaign creates between people, collection doing things is the same mode, but I spoke about that on. But if you have any questions on this little Adobe Express, which is new to me and new to a lot of people, and if you have any ideas, please share them on Twitter. I think it will be pretty amazing. I'm done.
Brilliant.
That was awesome, John. Thank you. Could you give a quick plug to your amazing YouTube channel as well for those people that don't know it, and give us a flavour of the sorts of videos that you've made in the last year or so?
I think obviously internet's just a little bit flaky there at school.
Lots of. I've got a few interviews with them. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I think what I've just written in the chat is I've already created a page on the AWL London website. I'm just going to put everything there, including links. So Jérôme,
obviously one of the interviews.
I think I'm talking over you. Sorry. Jérôme, we're having difficulties, so I think what we'll do is that, and you know, we've had wonderful webinars with you. I think we just need another webinar of just a Jérôme webinar, don't we? And Joe is shaking his head. We need to do.
So for those people that weren't able to decipher what Jérôme was saying, he has a fantastic YouTube channel called Learning with Jay. If you just do a search for Learning with Jay, Jérôme, it will come up, and he has done lots of fantastic how-to guides on different things. Recently, he's been talking about the Microsoft feature in Teams called Reading Progress, which allows you to speak into a microphone, and then it will then turn your voice into text, and it will give you scores on your fluency and what you can do to improve. So for those people using Microsoft Teams, I would really encourage you to check out Reading Progress by going to Jérôme's channel and then having a look at his video. That was great stuff from Jérôme. And I'm going to have to change what I'm going to show, because I was going to show that as well. So it's all good. I've got another thing in my back pocket. But that's the great thing about Twitter, you see. The people that are really into this sort of stuff, they all hear about it at the same time. And it's the person that's has the opportunity to speak about it first. But it's okay. I've got another thing in my back pocket. So it's all
I was going to say, I suspect you probably have got the odd thing you could share. And I love that comment from Emily there. I didn't realize Jérôme was the Learning with Jay.
Yeah, the one and only.
Is amazing. So that was great, really good. Right, so we've now got lined up. We've got Jennifer Wozniak, who's going to speak, and then afterwards Nick, and then if anybody else would like to join in, that's fine, and we'll probably end up with whatever Joe pulls out of the hat. So over to Jennifer. Do you like to speak to us? It's great to see you.
Hi everyone. Yeah, so I just wanted to talk to you about Vocaroo. I don't know if anyone is aware of Vocaroo, but it's so easy to use. And I just wanted to show you some example of what I use it for at both Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4, but you can use it with Key Stage 2, with Key Stage 5, with any pupils. So Vocaroo, it's so easy. As you can see at the top of the screen, it's only that when you go on it, so it's vocaroo.com, and there's just that red record button on your screen, and you just click on it and you can record, so you can, you know, speak in the language that you want and so on. So what I use it for at Key Stage 4 is that I ask my students to just, you know, I give them a question and I want them to speak for either 20 seconds, 30 seconds, up to a minute. It really depends on the questions I'm asking them. And then they just submit it as a homework. Sometimes we do it in school, so then I know that they cannot use their notes or things like that. But here it's really for me to just check the pronunciation and just to pick up on maybe some issues that or misconceptions that the pupils might still have. And then what I do at Key Stage 4 is that I will give them individualized feedback using Vocaroo as well. And what you can do, as you can see at the bottom of my screen, you can either send them a link back so they can, you know, listen to the feedback that you're giving them. Or what you can do as well, you can just print a QR code that is automatically generated for you. So at Key Stage 4, what I do is that I send them the link via Teams so they can listen to it, but also I print the QR code that they put in their books, because we use Microsoft Teams to set our homework or things like that. However, my students always use the excuse, oh, but I couldn't find in which, you know, assignment was the feedback, you know, when it's like a few weeks later and you want that to go back to it. So at least having the QR code, there's no excuse for that. And all my year 11 students find that very easy to use. However, at Key Stage 3, obviously thinking about the demands of, you know, the new GCSE that is coming up, and thinking about our year 7s and our year 8 students who obviously will have part of their exam, you know, a reading aloud activity. So I thought, well, I still want to do some activities at Key Stage 3 to ensure that all my classes are fully prepared. So this is an example of homework that I've done recently with my year 7 class. So this is what I set. So my year 7 Spanish class, they had to record themselves in one continuous recording, saying those 10 words in Spanish, okay? And they could even use their phone to record it or use Vocaroo. And then they just had to send me their recordings on Teams. So I have 30 students in my year 7 Spanish class. They all did it. And it took me about 10, 11 minutes to listen to all of them. Because obviously when you say those 10 words, it's about 20 seconds max that they, you know, that they will speak. So it's really, really quick. But what I did with my year 7 is that I didn't give them individualized feedback afterwards. So what I did is that I've listened to all the recordings, and as I said, it took me about 10 minutes. And then whilst I was listening, I was making a note of the words that the students didn't say properly. And then I almost did like a tally. And then I picked up the 3-4 words that they still struggle with. And then my next lesson, as a starter activity, I've just drilled those words again with, you know, with the whole class. But also I've made a note of those words to ensure that next time I do a similar activity, I also include those words so that we can revisit and I can make sure that, well, obviously then now they know how to say it. So that was just an easy activity that doesn't take a long time. It's very easy to mark. And actually, my year 7 really liked it. They said, oh, Miss, it was so fun to just to, you know, record ourselves. But actually, for me, it's great because it means that from year 7, I can make sure that we practice, you know. So yes, at the moment, it's not reading a full text, but just reading those words. And especially, you know, I teach mainly French, but I think it's really key that we start thinking at Key Stage 3 at doing more and more practice of reading aloud activities, and even more with French because the pronunciation is a lot harder than, for example, in Spanish or in German. But I'll stop sharing that screen, and what I can show you, if we've got 2 more minutes, is just an example of a recording of one of my students. I'm just hoping that the sound will work. Just bear with me.
Hola, soy Pilar. Muy bien. 4, 7, amigo, 10. Mi amor, ¿cómo te llamas? José.
So as I said, very easy, doesn't take, you know, any long. It's very straightforward for the students as well. And if you are not too much of a tech person, it's very, very easy to use because, as I said, if you just go to the website, it's just that a red record button on the screen. So that was my idea.
Thank you ever so much. And there are lots of little hearts going up. I don't know if you saw it. And I think certainly that was my experience as well. Oddly, it was during lockdown in particular, I used that sort of activity much more. And just be able to say, record yourself, in the amount that you learn, as you say, in a very short time. And the other thing, certainly reflects my experience, that it's something that the children just will do straight away. There isn't this problem. They know what they've got to do. There are the words, just say them. So lovely idea there. Thank you ever so much. We look forward to seeing you again at AWL London for a talk. I know that you've been doing, you've got your talks tomorrow, haven't you, for the...
on Sunday, I've got two talks on Sunday, yeah.
And what are you going to be talking about?
So one of them is called Opening Their Eyes to the World in Front of Them, where I'll be talking about, we keep talking about the 3 pillars in MFL, but I think culture is a 4th pillar. So I'm going to talk about everything that you can do in terms of culture. And also the other webinar that I'm going to do is Speak Now, and it's how to ensure that all your students, can speak a bit more spontaneously as well in the classroom.
Great. So Jennifer comes highly recommended. Do go along to her sessions then on Sunday.
Thank you, Helen.
And now we come to another person. Nick, you're going to be speaking as well, aren't you? Nick is part of the AWL committee. And always we normally put him towards the end of any talk, because normally he makes it very, very active. Is that what you're going to be active with today?
No, well, there's not really. Today's relatively pretty boring, actually. But
okay.
Hey,
well, Joe's going to be after you, so
yeah, it's well, in the spirit of boring. I really like lots as a mnemonic, but my brain can't remember really complicated mnemonics. So Dr. Self, I know what it's supposed to remind me of, but I cannot remember what the hell Dr. Self stands for. So basically, all these teachers teach Dr. Self, and I've got no clue. It doesn't help me get out of memory. So I've got a couple of short things here that might help. First one is for the first two are basically French ideas, and it's for accuracy in the present tense. So generally, because language is most unpredictable in the present tense, and it's a real killer if you look on the mark scheme at GCSE. But if they get irregular present tenses or even regular ones wrong at A level, that's pretty bad news. So the first one, if I can share my screen. Yeah, so it is sex, TED, which if you just write up on the board, it won't be long before a kid asks you what it is.
Oh, just look at Joe's face there.
And the answer is it's the present tense verb endings. So the je form almost always ends in an S or an E or an X. The tu form ends in an S or an X, and occasionally, well, with a regular imperative like porter, porte-le is going to end in an E. But as far as kids are concerned, it's an S or an X. And the il form is T or E or D. And obviously, with all these things, you might just need to gauge how you say that depending on the class. But at the very least, it means that people should never write down an S or an X for the il form, or a T or a D for the je form. And given that they all sound the same, that really helps in the mark scheme. Sooner or later, somebody will say, well, wait a minute, what about j'ai? And you let them discover, you say, right, now you've spotted that, you'll remember it for always. Yeah, if I'd told you that, you wouldn't have remembered it, but you're all going to remember sex, TED. And it's a really quick way of saying, look, that's a quick check. Ideally, they're going to know them because they know them. But actually, if you're coming to an exam with a less than top set, it's pretty useful. So second one, this is to do with pronunciation. And again, think how important that is in the current GCSE and even more so in the new one. And it's a straight rip-off of Michel Thomas, and it's careful. So if you get to the end of a French word, you find the last vowel and you get rid of everything else. So, il's portent is just il porte, E was the last vowel, bin the rest. But you have to be careful. Why careful? Because the consonants C, R, F, L are pronounced. So if you say, what's a lake? You get lac, I don't know, car, actif, travail. So that's a helpful way. And if they just get that right, find the last vowel, bin the rest. Right, very occasionally they're going to be wrong, but actually, you know, that's going to stand them in pretty reasonable stead. So a couple of other things. If you're coming to the ALL conference, the kind of real one, we had a sixth form pupil who wanted to do something for people having issues with mental health, and he wrote down 6 bits of advice just in like a sort of sentence. We made these into posters and we've translated them into Spanish. And so if you'd like a set of 6 glossy posters for free, turn up at ALL London, and they're there sort of nicely printed, A2, make a really good display on a classroom wall. And if you have a well-being week, you can get kids to make their own ideas and then have a go at translating them. The very last thing, which is much more practical, is that tomorrow I'm doing a session on, it's called Le Papier La Tour. And it's basically the sort of activity you might want to do before half term, before the end of term, or anything that's across curricular. And what kids are doing, they basically have to make the tallest paper tower. And you say, well, where's the language in that? And you start off by insisting every time they want a sheet of paper, they have to give a sentence that you have decided because you want it. So, est-ce que tu peux me donner une feuille de papier? They don't say it, they don't get the sheet of paper. And then as the lesson goes on, you vary it, and you'll find it's almost always the least able who are sent to get the paper in the kind of group dynamic, small groups, and they'll build a tower really, really happily. And if you can do a lot of things, you know, compétition de construction, les rectangles pas solides, désastre, les cylindres super solides, and well, you can see where the cognate rich stuff is coming from there. So anyway, that's 4 little chunky bits. Hope one of them's useful, and I'm sorry about Germanness. Yeah, I failed there.
Very much. And yes, so you can get more of Nick at the language show, but also come to ALL London. I'll put the link in there. And I think
we're wondering, Nick, can you just establish what you mean by Dr. Self? You said that earlier. Is that a mnemonic?
Yeah, it's a mnemonic for the subjunctive in Spanish, and I cannot for the life of me remember what. You know, honestly, if you explain to them, well, look, it's quite functional in Spanish, they often get it, and with a bit of practice over time, they go, you know, if it's doubt and that kind of stuff, what the hell O stands for? I suppose, I don't know, it might be opinions, but honestly, it doesn't work for me, and Mrs. Van der Tramp never worked for me either. Whereas I really like lots because it's really positive, it's 4 letters, ditto careful, and if they've made a mistake, you say you've got to be careful, and then the kid thinks about it. So it's the danger of the clever mnemonic that the brightest kids can remember, but they don't have a problem with learning languages anyway, you know, so I don't know, go figure.
And definitely the sex Ted, because I can remember the first time visiting you at Dulwich College, that must have been about, I don't know, it's 20 years ago, something like that, and seeing them on the wall before having it explained as to why it was on a language wall. And
I mean, that's rightly or wrongly, it's retained in memory for most
Well,
kids.
it's retained in my memory, definitely. What's going on
Awesome. Here? So without further ado, we have a very brave volunteer, Mary Cooch, who very kindly has offered to say something. Do you want to turn your video on and your audio on, Mary, if that's okay? So Mary is a former languages teacher and now works at Moodle HQ. I have no idea what you want to talk about, Mary, but I'm sure it'll be amazing.
Neither have I, Joe, because I didn't volunteer. Somehow I found myself as a panelist. What's going on here? But because I'm so polite, I didn't refuse, I accepted. But no, I'm sitting in the audience here, thinking back to my times as a language teacher and all the things I used to do. But no, I should have really. I should have thought of something and come prepared, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Okay, and don't worry.
Take. But
and I'm going to confess, I remember now that I saw your name and I thought, I have known you from afar for many years.
Yeah.
And I was going to do it. And then I was going to write you a message to say, would you like to produce something? And I'd forgotten to do that. But some other time we need you, because I know that you definitely are somebody who's been right at the forefront of putting together online learning.
No, I'd love to. Yeah, if I'd thought this morning, because I actually took the day off today because I wanted to attend some sessions, you see, I could have, but But no, next time. Yeah. Okay.
Good to
Fine.
see you. Is
Well,
it
it's lovely
Noodle
to see you,
Fairy you
Mary.
are?
Yeah, that's right. Noodle Fairy.
So I think now want to say thank you to everybody, and now Joe, you've got some things to.
I will share my screen as we speak. I will make sure I click share sound, although I don't think I'll be sharing the sound right now, but that's all good. Right. So this is a web tool called Texting Story Maker. There is also an iOS and Android app called Texting Story, which works in a similar way, but they're not related. It just so happens that this is called Texting Story Maker, but I'll put the link in the chat so you can all have a play. But basically what it allows you to do, as you can probably see, is it allows you to generate a dialogue. So obviously with language learning, this is a great way of either the teacher producing a dialogue as a model, which could be used, say, for reading comprehension. I remember many years ago, Ollie MFL, who produces the fantastic Bulletin Spanish A-level magazine, he had created a texting story video clip using the iOS app and put it into PowerPoint, and then played it, I think, 3 times, and then gave a little bit of paper with a table on it, asking what the 2 people were doing in their free time based on what they were saying in the dialogue. So you could use that as a reading comprehension activity, or if you export the results as a video, you could put it into something like iMovie or equivalent and record a voiceover. But it's fantastic. So it's just Texting Story Maker. So what I'm going to do, first of all, what you can do here, as you can see, you've got 4 possible characters: Naomi, Kevin, Bob, and Jesse. You don't have to use all 4. What you can do is you can actually upload your own image. Now, it so happens that I came across this website called Free Avatar Maker, which was shared by Jane Bassnett a while ago. If you don't know Jane, she's Bassnett J on Twitter, and she's amazing for all things digital, as well as lots of other ideas as well. So all you have to do is you have to choose whether you want to be a boy or a girl. You click on this like this, and then as a result of that, you have to wait for it to load, and then you get to choose these 4 different styles like that. There we are. I normally just go for this one, and then you can do all the obvious stuff like changing the face and this sort of thing, changing the nose, and so on and so forth, changing the eyes and what have you. You get the idea. And then once you've done that, you can click download like this. You can choose the size. I normally just go for 400 by 400 and click save. There we are. So I've just done that now, and then I can go back to Text Chat Animator, click on the avatar here, and I can just choose one like that. As you can see, I've been having a play around with this. You can see what I've been doing like that. There we are. And if you fancy as well, you could quickly use a website like AutoDraw, which is very cool. As you can see here, here's a picture of a cat. And in a moment, once the page loads up properly, there we are. I click on the 3 lines there. I click start over. I'm going to choose the color. So let's imagine I wanted my avatar to be a cat. I'm now going to draw a cat with a mouse. No pun intended. If you haven't seen AutoDraw before, it's a really great way of producing professional looking clip art when you're not particularly good at drawing, particularly if you're trying to use a mouse on a PC, as I am right now. So at the top of the screen, you can see that what's happening is Google, this is a Google tool, is using artificial intelligence to work out what this scribble is supposed to be. It thinks it might be a pizza slice, it might be a lobster, it might be a watermelon slice, it might be various other things. But of course, it's supposed to be a cat. So I click on the cat, and as if by magic, my doodle is turned into a cat. There you go. Helen has given her wow moment. That's fantastic. But there's more, Helen. There's more. So what you can do now, click on the select tool, and you can resize your picture like this, so it fits nicely on the page. You can click the fill tool, choose a different color, and suddenly your cat can be yellow. But what you could do with this, you could also add text as well. You could put text underneath. But what you could do with this is you could make a whole scene if you wanted to, and then take that image and put it into, let's say, Book Creator, and then add some audio, as Jérôme was talking about earlier, or put it into Google Slides or PowerPoint or whatever it might be. So really good for those children and those teachers that find drawing difficult, particularly when you're presenting live in an MFL show and tell. So then you click download like this, And you can see, actually, I've got a couple of cats earlier, pre-made, which is always handy. You go back to the text chat animator. And this time, instead of this picture of Bob, I've decided that Bob is going to be a cat, which seems very appropriate to do that. So I'm going to click on there, choose my cat. And now I've got a lovely cat, which I'm now going to have a dialogue with. Instead of Kevin, I'm going to change Kevin's name to my name. And as you can see now, we can click on the drop-down menu and you can see you can choose whichever name you want. So I'm going to start off this way and I can say, hi, Bob. What are you doing? Clearly, I would do this in the target language, but just to help everybody, I'm doing it in English right now. I will then choose Bob like this and I will say, hi, Joe. I'm checking out texting story maker. And then we can go on to the next one, go back to Joe. What does that do? Question mark. And then back to Bob. It allows you to create a dialogue. And then we'll go there and then we'll say, cool. And then here, make sure we get Bob again. It's fantastic for practicing dialogues in MFL. Apologies if I'm making typos, but I think I'm okay at the minute. And there we are. That's amazing. Now, if you do want to have more lines, all you have to do is go to the bottom and click add another message. You get the idea. Now, once you've done that, what you can do is click record animation like this. And as you can see, I've got the video option selected, not the GIF option. Now, as a result of the way that this works is it produces a WEBM file, a video file, but that's not MP4, obviously, it's WEBM. And you might have some compatibility issues when trying to import a WEBM file into, let's say, PowerPoint or Google Slides. It may be an option to use a tool like Zamzar to convert the video into MP4, because really you want to have MP4. That would be a lot better, a lot easier to import. But you can, as I've said already, you can export as an animated GIF if you want to, which is another nice thing to do. Now, you can just do the same thing as I showed you a moment ago. There we are, save as GIF. That's all good. But I'm going to show another little tool in a second, which will make the process even easier like this. So if I click save right now, that's my little video. It so happens I have the VLC player installed, which will cope with WEBM files with aplomb. So if I click on this right now, you can see the video. There we are. Can you see? So the video is going to start playing in a second, but you get this sort of like little title there at the bottom, and that's it. So from there, as I said, you could put this into another program and record a voiceover. So that's how you export as a video clip. If I close the VLC player like that, as I said, I could click save as GIF, but personally, I really like this tool, which I have shown in other show and tells, called GIFCap. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to record the screen, and anything it records, it turns into an animated GIF, which I think is particularly useful for this particular example. So if I click start recording right now, and I choose Chrome tab, and I choose text chat animator, as soon as I've clicked that, you get a little thumbnail, and then I click share. And now what I need to do is wait until the, that's fine. Wait until it's starting. There it is. That's all good. So it's now showing the dialogue appearing bit by bit. And I'm just going to wait until the whole thing plays through like this. And then I'll be able to stop recording. There we are. That's perfect now. So I now go to GIFCap and it's still recording like that. So I've stopped recording. And then what you do is you press the pause button and you move the playhead like this until you get that. There we are. I want it to start about there. That's perfect. And then if I move that out of the way and I move the playheads to say here, there we are. I think that should be fine now. And then if I press play, it should play the whole thing back as a smooth GIF. So by moving the red handles, you can get the starting point and the end point exactly where you want it to go. And the nice thing about a GIF as well, of course, is it will loop forever. So it means that the students, if you were using this as a reading comprehension activity, they would then be able to see that as many times as they need to do the activity. And then what you can do, you can see my cursors across. So I can move the cursor there, and then I can just drag over this section. So I just get the bit that I want, like that. And now when I click render, what will happen is it will turn what I've done it. There you go. You see it into a GIF. So I've just got the bits I want, and then you can click download like that. And then you've got a lovely little animated GIF, which is here. And with a GIF, as I'm sure you all know, you can embed that into places like Padlet or Google Slides or PowerPoint or Wakelet or lots of places, or just use it as a starter activity, that sort of thing. So it's called Texting Story Maker, and I think it's good for all 4 skills in lots of ways. So if you haven't seen it before, then do check it out. And thanks ever so much for everyone who's spoken today. And I'm now going to hand over to Helen to wrap us up. But it's been an absolute pleasure to hear so many cool ideas from everybody. And I really hope that you found that useful. Oh, I am speaking for 3 times tomorrow. I'm doing 3 separate talks, one on accessibility ideas using popular tools, one on podcasting, which I'm going to create a podcast from scratch, live with everyone using Vocaroo as well as Anchor. And then last but not least, I'm going to do 45 minutes or so on useful Chrome extensions for language teachers. So I'll see you all tomorrow. And thanks ever so much to Helen for being such a fantastic co-host today.
Well,
show my
thank
screen
you, Joe. And should we all just press lots of reactions? Let's see if we can flood it. I don't know how many reactions you could have if everybody does it. The lovely thing is that we really have kept. Oh, look at that. Yeah, keep going, keep going. Oh, yes, lovely.
Oh, bless you.
I mean, it's been great because we've had a good number of people who've stayed right on, into tea time as well. And we're definitely going to keep the chat because there have been some lovely comments there. Fiona, I just loved the comment about your artwork and how you were being praised for being such a good art teacher. And then when one of them asked if your Jack Russell was a cow, the moment was lost. So, but the drawing idea was great. I just wondered if it was something with language teachers that we are a bit challenged when it comes to drawing. Then I think about Anna Granger, who's just brilliant at it. But thank you so much, Joe, for all you've done, because you've identified a lot of people, and we've all kept together through COVID and beyond. So it's been great. So thanks to all of the presenters for being so generous. I will definitely be sharing everything that they passed me onto a web page. And also, if I can just plug our January event, because much as it's lovely to meet here, it is very easy normally to get on a train, isn't it? To get to London in advance and come down and see us. We've got plenty of room at the British Film Institute in January. It'd be lovely to see people face to face. So thank you, everybody. Thank you again to the organisers, Jonathan Scott and Linguoscope, who've made all of this possible. And thanks to all of you, because it's popular, because we always get this number of people, we always get invited back, which is great. Okay. Anything else, Joe? Or shall we wrap it up now and go and have some tea, I think?
I don't think so. I think we're ready for tea. I'm definitely ready for tea. Yeah. I just love the way that, it's like tea time. It's the end of the show and tell. It's time for tea and a time to kick back and enjoy the evening. But just echoing everything that Helen said. Thanks ever so much for people coming on and freely sharing their ideas. We can then all learn together as a community. It's a very strong and dynamic community. It's amazing. And we're very, very grateful to everyone sharing their ideas this evening and beyond on Twitter. It'd be lovely to see some tweets about the session as well as about the language show in general. So please use the account Language Show when you're tweeting and sharing all ideas, and then everyone can learn together. It's amazing.
Yes. Okay, so everybody will be in touch then over the next couple of days as well, and as you say, on Twitter. So I think we now have to end this session. Thank you very much indeed. Bye, everybody. Bye. Oh, and look, people are still pressing reactions and things.